sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
What's up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rams writer Blaine Grisak. How's it going, bro?
Going great. Looking forward to this. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, just not very often you can get kind of a cordial conversation between the Rams and the 49ers fans. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
Oh yeah, anytime, dude. And yeah, you know, something to keep it pretty busy for the offseason. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a dead period right now. So might as well just mix in between the Rams a little bit with the Niners. You know, it's a rivalry. There's a great history between those two teams and all that stuff. So, you know, for the people who are not too familiar about you, tell them about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been a Rams fan, I think, ever since kind of when the Great Show on Turf kind of started. Kind of been a Rams fan ever since then, and then just kind of as I've gained interest into some different professions, I found writing to be a big passion of mine. So I've been writing for the Rams now since I was in college, but since I was about 18 or so, and I write now for turfshowtimes.com, and absolutely love that. And it's a nice little not a nice little side hustle. As I it's kind of stay involved with the team a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a way to start from the get-go, you know. So like sometimes you got to start somewhere, but you know, I know this is why we're not here. We're here for these topics right here. So you know what? I want to start off with the Aaron Donald topic so we can get that out the way. So what was your thoughts when you found out about Aaron Donald retiring?
I guess I was surprised, but I wasn't at the same time. Ever since kind of the I think the Super Bowl season, it was kind of floating in the air that he was kind of contemplating it, and then last year's kind of seemed like a good time, a good time for him. You know, they kind of had a passing the torch moment with Kobe Turner there, kind of coming along as a rookie, and the team was kind of in a good spot there, coming off of the rough 2022 and making the playoffs again last year. And it just was. I felt like if he couldn't have gone out with a Super Bowl win, I think last year was kind of a good way to go out. He left everything out on the field and kind of went out on his own terms, which a lot of great players don't get the chance to do.
Yeah, most of them want to come with good health. I mean, I don't know about getting another ring, but he got one already. So, I mean, he got the one from a couple years ago, so I guess he can come away with that, you know. So, speaking of the rivalry, you know, the Niners and Rams, you know, there's just a great history of this rivalry. But when you look at these two teams, this is like the Dodgers and the Giants. This is like kind of like how you deal with the Lakers and Warriors type of mentality. Like, how do you feel about these rivalries, bro? It's just, I think it's one of the most underrated rivalries.
Oh, it's definitely a huge rivalry. I remember just kind of even going back to the Jeff Fisher era. I think one of my favorite moments was the Rams finally getting a win over the 49ers. I think they beat them 16-13 in overtime or something when Kaepernick was still your QB and Harbaugh was the coach. So that was just still one of my favorite moments just as a fan. You kind of had, even going back, you get the rivalry between Steven Jackson and Patrick Willis. That was always a fun matchup when the two teams got together. And then you have the rivalry between Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Those two coaches go way back. The 49ers have had the Rams number in the regular season, and then the 49ers had that lead in the fourth quarter, the NFC Championship game, and the Rams kind of pull ahead there and go Super Bowl, end up winning it. And yeah, there's so much history going back between these two teams. Even go back to the 80s. I think you guys beat the Rams 30-3 in the NFC Championship game. Just a game that kind of got away from the Rams Rams there back in the day. It's just it's a rivalry that goes
it's a rivalry
way back, and it's been kind of renewed here with the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan stuff.
It's been a renewed rivalry, but it's been a rivalry since the 50s. So it's like it's been a rivalry since our grandparents were even watching the games or something like that, But like becoming a fan, I'll give you a funny story, man. So I grew up around families who were Cowboy fans. So my parents were so disappointed that I just chose the other side. Because I was just really in the bad side. But, were you kind of raised with the family the other way around, or was it the tradition to be a Rams fan?
No. So actually, football doesn't really have, really a deep history with my family. Guys, my dad is a Saints fan. My stepdad's a Cowboys fan. My uncle's a Cowboys fan. So it's just, we're just not a deep history there with them. And I grew up in Montana, so it's not like there was even really an obvious team to even root for. You have Denver and Seattle as the two kind of closest teams, and a lot of people like the Vikings as well out that way. But growing up, just the Greatest Show on Turf was one of those things. They were so fun to watch back then. With you guys like Warner, Falk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, all those guys, and just super fun to watch for me being 6 years old. And that's kind of where I started, and I've been a fan ever since.
Sometimes you just got to follow that team ever since. It's kind of been like one of those teams. Like the moment I seen Steve Young played it at that point, it was that was a done deal. Couldn't even go nowhere else. Like my family tried so hard. They tried so hard to get me into the Cowboys, and I just wasn't into it. So it was like, nah. But the best part about this Niners and Rams rivalry, it's like it's a physical kind of rivalry. Like I think when you look at it this way, when you look at the history of this team, like you just mentioned, Steven Jackson, a lot of players that tackle this guy, they say he hurts people, man. Like it's hard to tackle this guy. Like I've talked to a couple Niner players and some other players from other teams. They said this guy hurts like hell.
Yeah, and and unfortunately the Rams couldn't give him a good team to be on, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I just even growing up, like I always loved that matchup between him and Patrick Willis. It seemed like there was always a real deep respect between those two players, even if the Niners were a lot better at that period.
Oh yeah, definitely. But, looking at the Rams season, from last season, you guys exceeded your expectation because I don't think anybody thought you guys were going to come back the way you were after your Super Bowl run. After your guys' Super Bowl run, I just thought that would be the end of your guys' little run and it would take a while to come back. But I saw that you guys just was it kind of like something you guys expected as a Rams? Like, hey, mate, we can make it back this upcoming season.
I think it was one of those things where it was kind of a two things can be true at the same time type deal where I never really expected the Rams to be as bad as the media was kind of painting them to be last year. At the end of the day, I think you look at the circumstances around 2022, the offensive line just got completely decimated. I think we're on our fourth or fifth left tackle. You had the injuries to Aaron Donald missed about half the season. Cooper Kupp missed half the season. Matthew Stafford missed half the season. I mean, those are obviously huge parts of that team. And then you combine that with sort of the burnout with Sean McVay, and there were some uncertainties on whether he would come back because of that. And so I think going into last year with Sean McVay coming back a little bit refreshed, kind of committing himself to the team again. You had Cooper Kupp coming back mostly healthy. Donald coming back healthy. Stafford healthy. I never expected them to be kind of in that Caleb Williams discussion, like a lot of, I think, LA Rams fans wanted them to be just kind of.
That was a lot of discussions about that because of the Stafford health and all the other stuff. Like I was hearing that little mixed rumor too, and then I seen Jake and quite a few other dudes were saying, "Nah, we're not going to get him. Like, stop it!" Like they just kept saying, "Stop it."
Yeah, it was just never going to happen. It was just at the end of the day, it's a team coached by Sean McVay, and I think when you have coaching on the NFL level matters, and Sean McVay, when he's at his best, is one of the top 5-10 head coaches in the NFL. So I don't know if I necessarily expected them to, go on the type of run that they did, but I wasn't one that expected them to be in that top 5 pick either, kind of somewhere in the middle, and that's kind of where they end up as in the middle and ended up with one of those final playoff spots.
Yeah. I didn't think that this was going to be the case. I mean, when you saw beginning of the season, you saw, yeah, Cooper Kupp was going to miss time, but they had this rookie, this Puka Nacua. Man, this guy just came out of the scene. It just felt like you didn't even miss a beat with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things too, where like I wasn't as high on Puka Nacua coming in the season as just during the offseason you kind of get all of that coaches speak, all that offseason buzz. Oh, this guy's lighting up in training camp, and you don't really want to believe it until you see it on the field week one when things matter. And that's kind of how I was with him. And then he lit it up in week one against the Seahawks, and the rest is history, I guess. But yeah, he was a pleasant surprise, and he's gonna be one that's gonna hopefully give you guys problems for years to come.
I mean, he kind of makes it so difficult in those matchups. So I think you guys found another Cooper. So it's like, I mean, that's a good problem to have if you're a Rams fan. You would have that. You would take that any day of the week. So you look at the rest of what you guys did this offseason. So you guys had some weakness at the offensive line, but the Rams, they aggressively went to that route and just try to fix that offensive line.
Yeah, they invested there without a doubt. I mean, I kind of think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers kind of go the route of kind of spending a little less on the offensive line because the scheme kind of makes up for it a little bit. But the Rams they kind of shifted from that approach a little bit, and they spent big on bringing back Kevin Dotson last year after trading for him. He had a stellar year. They bring him back at a big price. They go out. They sign Jonah Jackson from Detroit, another top guard contract. They obviously drafted Steve Avila last year in the second round. So that interior of the offensive line, they're big. They're going to be nasty this year, and they're going to be ready to kind of pack a punch a little bit. And then I would have liked them to spend their first round pick, I think, on a left tackle. They did get an edge rusher, which was a need, but I think there's still some questions there on how good Alaric Jackson is. He was fine last year. We'll see how he does in year two as a full-time starter. But yeah, it's just they have a really good guard tandem now in Dotson and Jackson.
Yeah, I just think it's important to protect your quarterback at all costs, even if you got to pay a lot. But like the Niners approach, man, we're not really trying to spend big. Like if you're not Trent Williams, we're not paying you a big buck out of that. So it's like, the Rams did what they had to do. So
exactly. I mean, and you look at the Sean McVay offense when it's at its best. I mean, 2018, that offensive line was one among the best in the league with guys like Andrew Whitworth, Roger Saffold, and they make the Super Bowl run. And then 2021, same kind of story. They had this great offensive line. So the offense is certainly dependent. With Stafford getting older too, you want to be able to protect him, and that's kind of I think where that shift has come from.
Oh yeah. But when you look at how the Rams are going into the season, it's still it's a young, hungry team right now because what they did last year is they could still be a problem for our division for this year. Like I don't know, outside of you guys, I don't know if Seattle can make the strides because they got a new coaching staff. It's a new culture. It's going to be a little challenging how they're going to adapt with this culture. The Arizona Cardinals, it's like I want to believe in them, but I just don't, man. I don't know. There's something about I just don't buy it.
Yeah, the Cardinals are always that team that they're just kind of there. They're kind of annoying for a little bit, and then they usually kind of tend to fade. And I want to believe in them because they kind of it looked like they had a good thing going last year with Jonathan Gannon, but I'm just not quite there yet. And then like you had said, Seattle. They're kind of looks like they're kind of in a transition period, but so yeah, this looks to be kind of a two-team race between the Rams and 49ers, which is exactly how you'd want it.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to this type of game. Maybe it might even be a might be a 3-game season between the Niners and Rams. Who knows? I don't think this is like the end of what we saw a couple years ago. I think there's possibility. I might go on a limb and say an NFC Championship matchup, but it will be at the other stadium. I think that's a possibility, bro. Because I think if you look at the NFC, like all you have is the Philadelphia Eagles. If they're back to their physical dominance, you look at the Detroit Lions. They are a hungry young team, but then you got the Packers and the rest. It's like I don't know about them.
Yeah, and as long as Matthew Stafford is playing at the level that everybody knows he can play at, he's arguably the best quarterback in the NFC. And if you have the quarterback, you always have a chance. And then the 49ers, that they kind of have that well-rounded team. That defense is always good. With Nick Bosa hopefully healthy again this year, and they had guys like they had Leonard Floyd on the other side to give him some help.
Leonard Floyd was a pleasant surprise pickup that I didn't see coming. So it was like,
yeah, and he should be solid too. He's not a top end edge rusher, but he's a solid number 2, which is kind of what you need on the other side.
Yeah, to complement Bosa and all that stuff. But I think the surprising part from what I was told was you guys only cut him based by salary cap purposes. I don't know if that was true or you guys just thought he was underperforming.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where after 2022, they just want a clean cap to be able to spend on guys like they did this offseason.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It had to be a business decision, but so when you guys released Leonard Floyd, it had to do with the cap casualty. It wasn't because he underperformed or anything, right?
Exactly. I mean, I don't want to say he didn't underperform. I think he performed adequate to his contract, I guess.
Okay.
But I think most of the, if you had I guess weigh the reasons why he was cut, it was definitely I think the cap reasons are all the way up here and the performances down here.
Part of the cap reason, but he was solid.
He was solid. I had a couple double digit sack seasons and kind of took advantage of those opportunities that you're going to get with a guy like Aaron Donald on the interior, and that's kind of what the Rams, when Donald was on the team, expected of their edge rushers was to kind of take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's just because you guys were going through cap hell at that time, and I thought maybe cutting those. I had a feeling you guys were going to make some tough decisions. You guys had to trade Jalen Ramsey. You had to get rid of these other players and all that stuff. So when you guys traded Robert Woods to the Titans, that was a business decision that you guys had to do, even though he was your reliable receiver. Oh, your volume.
And oh, sorry about that. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
You good? Okay, sweet. Anyway, I mean, Robert Woods was kind of been a staple in the offense, and like you said, Jalen Ramsey, he's a guy that any defense would want, but sometimes it does come down to those business decisions, and unfortunately, for Rams have to make some tough calls.
Yeah, it does. But I think looking at the draft from the last 2 years, I think the Rams actually kind of made the most out of those draft picks because you saw last year you guys got some studs on your defensive side of the ball. And then this year's draft, I'm not going to lie, I thought you guys hit the ballpark on those draft picks. You got 2 Florida State type of defenders, and you guys got that one offensive lineman from Arkansas I wanted, the center.
Yeah.
You had some other guys. You had the running back from Michigan, I think everybody was hyping about. And then there was quite a few other players that I liked from your draft, but I thought you guys did pretty good.
Yeah, it's crazy because kind of going into into last year, the conversation around Lestina just completely shifted because kind of going into last year, it was just without having a first round pick, it obviously makes drafting a lot more difficult. So the conversation around Lestina was, this guy he's a bad, he can't draft anymore, he can't evaluate talent, and then they just absolutely hit these last 2 drafts completely out of the park. You get Puka Nacua, Kobe Turner last year, kind of as the staples of last year's class, and then this year the draft could not have fallen any more perfectly. You really needed an edge rusher, and I think offensive players went all in the first 14 picks. All that defensive talent fell, and you get one of the top edge rushers in Jared Verse there in the first round. You get his teammate Braden Fisk, and then Kyron Williams has dealt with some injuries the last few years. So you get a guy with a similar play style, and Blake Corn out of Michigan, who scored 27 touchdowns last year. I believe for the Wolverines in their national championship run. And then Bo Limmer, he's not going to start on that offensive line, but he was probably one of my favorite picks. Just watching him at the combine, absolutely just crush those drills and just show off his athleticism. He's going to be a really nice depth piece on the offensive line for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll probably have an opportunity at some point, probably not this season. Some of these players have to go through some redshirt years because it's a stacked roster for some purposes, but there's some still openings for the Rams. They're going to still find other ways to play other players. When you look at the Niners draft, we mostly have these guys redshirt, or they're either just guys that might step in if necessary, but they're not mostly guys that are going to just step in right off the bat. So I don't expect nothing less from our draft approach. So it's like, if we draft this guy, I scratch my head for a second, and I kind of think, okay, this makes sense. Maybe we're going to redshirt this guy and not play him. Maybe that's what the purpose is to have somebody ready for next year. Because, for example, like a while back, we drafted Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks was supposedly be a guard, right? But he eventually replaced Laken Tomlinson the following year. So Dominic Puny is a good example. Like, I think Aaron Banks is in the contract year. So the Niners have that advantage to go get this Dominic Puny kid to get ready. So once next year comes in, this kid's going to be ahead of the curve. I think that's how we approach it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how those team building, I guess, strategies, I guess, because the Rams were like that during their kind of win now mode too, where they were kind of drafting for that for that next year, I guess, and letting those rookies red shirt and learn the system their rookie year a little more than the last 2 years. Rams have kind of need guys to kind of step in right away and perform, and that the draft strategy has changed because of that. So it's just different. It's just kind of cool, I think, looking at those different strategies.
Yeah, you got like one of the top best GMs out there. I wouldn't put him above Howie Roseman, but I'd put him at least up there. For
sure, yeah. I mean, Roseman is drafting and just ability to pull off trades. It's next level, and it's crazy too. Just kind of thinking back to when Chip Kelly was in Philadelphia, how Rosen kind of was back in the closet a little bit, just kind of observing, and now. But you see
the difference. Your guys' front office is aggressive, just like how Philadelphia does it. Niners we're just chill. We're just chill. We don't even give a damn.
I don't even know about that because, I mean, you guys gave up a lot to go get Christian McCaffrey, and that kind of unlocked a whole other level of the offense. So it'll be interesting this year, if they're on the cusp, if the 49ers do make a big move midseason, again, just to see if they can kind of get them over the edge, because it would be disappointing for the 49ers to be kind of this good for the last 5 years or so that they've been, and to not come away with a championship, I think would be disappointing. So, I think you got to come away with something.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, because if you had all this talent for the last 5 years and you made 2 appearances and you couldn't even win the Super Bowl, then what matters is it's all wasted for nothing. Like, you look at the Buffalo Bills, 4 Super Bowl appearances, not a single ring. I mean, it's just, I guess you could just say we just didn't capitalize. Luck just wasn't in our way. I'm not making excuses. Patrick Mahomes was just a better quarterback. I mean, he had a slow start, but you never want to underestimate Mahomes when it comes down to the last quarter. We've seen how Mahomes comes from behind. So, man, can we just get like the Bengals or somebody like you guys at least? Can we get somebody like that? Because Mahomes just seems like a problem.
Yeah, no, I guess, we were definitely, I think, a little lucky that the Bengals upset the Chiefs there in the AFC Championship because I mean, Mahomes has been ridiculous tonight. And I guess to your point too, it is a little thing. I mean, football is a game of luck a little bit. I mean, you got to have the ball bounce your way, and it's just and the games where it's mattered. Unfortunately, the 49ers have been just a little unlucky.
Nah, I think it's just been like luck has been against us. Like, the injuries has been hurting us, but we still got to get the next man up. Just plays haven't really gone our way, so it's like, I like this kind of question from my audience guy. Like, I guess since he does this all the time, Grandizer, shout out to him. I guess he wants to give you a little bit of a good question about your fandom, because he says, what do you say? I guess you guys say this all the time.
No, of course, it's Rams house. Whose house? Rams house. That's the chant, right?
I guess that's how you guys represent, but come down our house. It's all good.
I'm honestly not the biggest fan of it, but it stuck.
If it works, it works.
Exactly.
Well, I guess you guys did go from those picks to give me all those picks now. So I guess it doesn't work anymore like it used to. But I think Avila's kind of made the most strides as your offensive line. Isn't he playing center?
Yeah, they're moving him from left guard to center this year. Is kind of how things worked out. They did bring back Coleman Shelton, and then they cut Brian Allen. So I'll be like, he had some center experience at TCU, so they'll move him there. And then you have Jonas Jackson, Kevin Dotson both at guard, and that'll be interesting. I don't think it's not something that Steve Avila can't handle, but at the same time, you always kind of get a little wary when you're moving offensive linemen to a different position after they've had such good success at a position the year before.
Yeah, well, Avila did play that spot, so I guess that made sense to put him out there. I mean, but he did get viable experience playing guard, so that kind of helps in case injuries happen, you can just plug in Avila at the guard and then go have that Arkansas center, Bold. I don't know how you say his name, but he was one of my favorites. But you can plug him because he's a natural.
Exactly, yeah. So, and I mean, you look at Jonas Jackson. He has a little bit of an injury history, so it wouldn't surprise me at some point if Avila does have to move back to left guard, and they do have to kind of plug in Bo Limmer there at center. But yeah, that's kind of been one of the storylines of the offseason for the Rams is how Steve Avila is making that transition, and it's been so far so good. The biggest difference there is obviously the communications and making those protection calls, but I think just kind of as he gets more experience throughout the offseason, it's something he should be able to handle.
Yeah, it is, especially when you need some guys to step in with those injuries, and plus with Stafford, we don't know how long he's going to play. But I've been hearing a little bit about he wants to renew his contract. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, based on everything that's been reported, I don't necessarily think he wants an extension. Just if you look at his contract over the next 2 years, there's no guaranteed money on it, so he wants more guaranteed money in those final 2 years. And if you look at the way the Rams have done these things, they do tend to take care of their guys, and so I wouldn't be surprised if something got done over these next 6 weeks between OTAs and training camp. The Rams they structured something a little similar with Aaron Donald back after the 2021 season, where they didn't necessarily add years onto the contract. They just gave him essentially a new deal where they gave him a slight pay raise and more guaranteed money towards the back end of that contract. So I'd expect them to eventually get something done with Stafford. You never want your quarterback to go into the season unhappy, and I don't think the Rams will do that with Stafford.
I mean, you guys gotta. I mean, the guy got you a ring. You might as well pay him whatever. You gotta pay him all your damn money. I mean,
yeah, but it's tough though too. I mean, the Rams aren't a tough spot because if you do pay him, you lose that flexibility. If you do if this season doesn't go how they want it to go, they could move on from after the season and kind of just tear the whole thing down and rebuild if that's something that they would want to do. And you kind of lose that flexibility with a new contract, but at the same time, with how much they traded to get this guy, and you kind of got to show that commitment.
Yeah, and I think he deserves every penny, man. Come on, like if any guy wins you a ring, that guy deserves everything for the rest of his life. Like that kind of mentality. But since you guys I think you guys have the best backup quarterback, and I hate to say this, man, but you guys made this move. He comes from the Raiders, but he was on our squad. He gave you guys problems for years. Now he comes on your team. Like, what was your thoughts when you saw Jimmy Garoppolo signing with the Rams?
I was hoping he'd give Sean McVay all the Kyle Shanahan secrets, so we can finally get you guys in the regular season. Those are my first thoughts. But on a more serious note, yeah, I think just. You look at kind of the Green Bay Packers game last year where the Rams had to start Brett Rippon, and it wasn't pretty. You kind of understood just how important Matthew Stafford was to this offense, and so you bring a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, didn't really have the best run with the Raiders, but he's a guy that he at least he understands the system, has proven he can win games in the NFL, and that's exactly what you want in your backup quarterback.
Oh man, yeah. Like I think you get somebody who knows the system and he will be able to operate. You're not gonna have to deal with those other quarterbacks that you had, like those guys that should have been playing for the CFL or any other squad right now. But and speaking of the draft, like what was your favorite and least favorite draft picks,
I think my favorite draft pick was actually the kid from Arkansas, Bo Limmer. I just thought that was I loved him at the Senior Bowl. He absolutely crushed the combine with his testing, and for him to fall to the 6th round, I certainly didn't expect him to be there, and so that was just a great value pick. I mean, like I said, he's probably not going to be the guy that starts right away, but a guy that I absolutely loved. And then I think my least favorite pick, and it's nothing against the player at all, because I absolutely love Blake Corum, but my least favorite pick was probably Blake Corum, just because you look at, I guess, what running backs are able to do, and that Kyle Shanahan scheme, the Sean McVay scheme. I mean, you can find guys in the fifth, sixth rounds that can have success in that offense. So I would have preferred them kind of maybe approach the secondary with that third round pick and take a running back later on. But again, it's nothing against Blake Corum. I absolutely love Blake Corum. Absolutely crushed it at Michigan. Happy he's on the Rams. It was just one of those value things where I think you can find a running back later on.
Later rounds, yeah.
Later on, yeah.
That's what I would think too. But like when I look at there's quite a few. I don't know. Like I've had at least a couple dislikes on the Niners picks, but there's only just one pick that just stands out to me. Like when I look at this pick, I think like the safety from Wake Forest. I just like his game. He just seems like a physical presence. I can see maybe why if Hufanga is entering the contract here, I think this kid might take his spot. But I like his instincts. So I think he's one of my favorite draft picks, the safety from Wake Forest. Though, if I had to debate the two least of my draft picks, man, I just hate when we go for running backs that damn early, man. Like, damn, but then there's the wide receiver, Pearso. I just don't know about him. So I'm going to go Pearso, even though I'm hoping it works out. But I just didn't like the pick. I just thought it was a reach, and it was just something we didn't need.
It is. It's kind of interesting too, because the 49ers are in a weird spot at wide receiver. You have all this like trade talk are they going to trade Debo? Are they going to trade Brandon Ayuk? So are they going to extend Ayuk and
it's one of those problems.
Pay him what he wants. So yeah, they kind of got a problem there. So I understood that I understand what you're saying, but I also kind of understand the pick there from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty stacked receiver group. Maybe I could have understood if we would have just got one wide receiver and that was it, but instead we went with two receivers. So it's like we got this kid from Arizona with some speed, so we'll see what happens. But the running back, I just kept like scratching my head and saying, man, I knew they were going to pick this damn kid. Because I read reports. I was reading a lot of reports from the Niners front office and everybody else, and they had a third-round grade on this kid. And I was scratching, we better not get this kid. But then I started watching this film. I said he kind of seems like a Raheem Mostert.
Yeah,
but it's just too much of a need. It's not even a need.
Exactly, and again, you look at these running backs that have had success with Kyle Shanahan, and it's guys that you draft in the sixth round. These undrafted guys, that Kyle,
those are the ones who benefit the most.
Kyle can just plug in the offense. They have instant success. So yeah, it is just odd that the amount of I guess value that a guy like Shanahan places on that position when guys in the 6th and 7th round have had success with them.
Yeah, for sure. But since we were since you wanted to throw in this topic right here, I know you wanted to bring this up like before we were doing the show, you wanted to bring up this topic I think this is going to be a great debate for a while. But I think as of right now, we're looking at the hardwares and consistency. And I think when you look at it, Stafford's been there the longest. But if we're looking at the short period of time, I think Brock Purdy kind of has the better advantage. But when it comes to the longevity and how long Stafford has played, you got to give Stafford the edge on that one.
Yeah, I think right now, like you said, I think right now Matthew Stafford is the better player, has a better arm, has proved he can do it in the big moments. But I'm honestly not as low on Purdy as I think a lot of Rams fans, a lot of people around a lot of other fans around the NFL are. He's shown. He's given that 49ers offense exactly what they needed. Jimmy Garoppolo was fine in that offense. On time, put the ball where it needed to be, but he was never going to make those out of structure plays. And Brock has shown that he has a little mobility to him. He has a little chaos to him, which can sometimes lead to some bad things, but at the same time, it can also lead to some very good things. And Purdy has also shown that he can make those big. There's all these these narratives that he can only throw only check downs and things like that. But he can also push the ball down the field a little more than I think people like to admit. So I think the 49ers do have a really good one there. And if you can kind of take advantage of his value there as Mr. Irrelevant. I mean that's great contract value.
It's like the bargain deal you get at the 99 store or something like that, or Dollar General. But yeah, I'm saying just like in the short period of time, you got to admit Purdy had the better out of Stafford because Stafford was put in a difficult situation because when he went to the Lions, it was like a team that was coming off a winless season. So I think if Stafford would have been what he was with the Rams, maybe we would have a different discussion. But in that short term, in those 2 year span, I gotta say Brock Purdy wasn't pressure. He was the last pick of the draft. He wasn't expected to be the guy.
No, exactly, and yeah, I do think Stafford has shown over his last 2 years that when he was traded to the Rams, he was kind of touted as this guy that could perform the playoffs, could perform under pressure, and then you plug him with the Rams and put him in this you were traded here to win the Super Bowl. It doesn't get as high pressure as that, I guess. And Stafford showed that he can handle it. Making the throw to Cooper Kupp against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round, and there's not many quarterbacks that make that throw. Coming back in the fourth quarter against a really good Niners team in the NFC Championship game, and then in the Super Bowl, the Rams were out. Odell Beckham went out in the first half with his ACL. Rams basically had no running game in that game. I mean, Cooper Kupp was basically the only option on offense in the Super Bowl, and Stafford got the job done with another fourth quarter comeback. So for him to perform under those circumstances was very impressive. But I do think 49ers have a good run on Purdy, and I think he gets a lot more. I don't want to say hate, but a lot more, I think, criticism than he deserves.
Yeah, they're overlooking him a lot because of what's wrong with being around a talent? Like every other quarterback wants to be surrounded by talent. Like, if you look at Joe Burrow, he's got 3 legitimate number 1 receivers. He got to the Super Bowl with those receivers. Like, is that a knock on him?
No, exactly. And I mean, you go back to the early days of in the Sean McVay era, and 2017, 2018, you had Jared Goff coming off that really terrible 2016 season, that rookie year where he was just flat out awful. He did not look like he was going to be a competent NFL quarterback. And then you throw in Sean McVay and you put Jared Goff in that system, and he shows he's not bad, but it's kind of the same narrative. Oh, he's a system quarterback. He's benefiting from all these players and things like that. But yeah, I think these quarterbacks in the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay system I think get a little bit of an unfair rap when it comes to the system that they play in, and they sometimes don't get credit for the throws that they're making.
Yeah, it's because they make it so simple for these receivers to be open. I don't know what it is, but they say it's because they make it so easy. But wait a minute, I like this question by Granddad. We'll answer a couple more questions on him. Oh, good question. How many jerseys do you own? Do you plan on getting a new one for a player this year, a rookie existing Rams player? Like, hey, yeah, that's something I usually throw out sometimes.
Yeah, let's see. I have my go-to is my Stafford Super Bowl jersey. I got a Super Bowl replica Stafford. I have an Aaron Donald. I have a signed Gurley jersey. A throwback here, I have a Roman Gabriel jersey. Let's see. What else do I got? I just got a Kyren Williams jersey is my latest one, and then I'm kind of holding out now because the Rams that there's some rumors that over the next year or two that they're going to come out with a new jersey. So I'll wait to get a new one until that new uniform releases. But those are the 5 that I think I have right now. I think I have a Ricky Prohl too. Actually,
oh, that's good.
Yeah, and wait, they're coming to me now. Marshall Falk, and then I have an Isaac Bruce as well. So yeah, it's 8. Yep.
Hey, he got so many collections out of it. But I'll probably just send you an inbox picture of somebody you're familiar with because I met him at a football camp like before the draft, and I'm pretty sure you guys missed this guy because he was good for you guys until he had some knee issues.
Yeah, Who's that?
Todd Gurley.
Oh, Todd Gurley, yeah. Todd Gurley's the biggest, I think, what if for me because his 2017 and 2018 seasons the first half of 2018, he was looking like one of the best.
He was looking unstoppable.
Yeah, unstoppable running backs in the NFL, and then the knee, and he just completely changed. He wasn't the same player. So he was kind of one of those like Hall of Fame talents, but he won't get in the Hall of Fame because he just didn't produce long enough. But he's a huge what if for me for sure.
Yeah, he's a huge what if because I think arthritis knees and stuff starts to catch on with these players. Like I think that was his knock on it. But yeah, from just meeting this guy at a football camp like not too long ago, he seemed like a chill dude.
Yeah, and He is a really good dude too. I went to the Rams training camp back in 2017 at UC Irvine, and there's players that'll sign an autograph or two, and then the team personnel come and say, "Oh, come on, you got to go" or whatnot. But Gurley was one of those players that he stayed out there. He signed every last autograph of the kids that were there and everything. And then that to me just kind of shows your character and kind of the kind of person that you are. And yeah, he's just. You look at kind of the two last Rams great running backs, and you put Steven Jackson on some really good teams, and he's probably a Hall of Fame level player too. And he won't get that recognition because the Rams were just really bad when he was on their team. And then you look at Gurley, and really great talent, and just unfortunately injuries got to him.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate for these guys, like for some guys, like sometimes there's always those players who play on a bad team and they just never get the glory. But yeah, I guess I inboxed you that picture. It's a pretty cool picture. He's like this.
nice. Yeah,
he's good. He's a cool dude. He was nice enough to let me take a quick picture with him. But yeah, Roman Gabriel. Yeah, rest in peace. I think he was a Filipino, right?
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I think he was one of the first Filipinos playing at the NFL level.
I think so. And he's one too that he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's not. He's just, you look at his accolades and what he was doing back when he was playing. It's kind of unreal.
Yeah. Oh, I think I didn't ask this question because usually I would ask this one every now and then. But how did you become a Rams fan, and how long have you been a Rams fan? And then you go with your all-time favorite player. Like, which one kind of caught your attention?
So I kind of touched on how I became a fan. Just kind of when I started paying attention to football, it was the greatest show on turf. That was a fun team to watch, obviously. And after they won the Super Bowl, just I said that's my team, and stuck around ever since. And then my favorite player, probably Kurt Warner. That was kind of the player that kind of
the greatest football story. They just have a guy from a bag grocery store to this. Like, who makes
exactly.
Right?
I fell in love with that story. He kind of became that. But my favorite player as a kid, and why I'm probably a Rams fan. But just kind of watching games as a kid. Steven Jackson was kind of the guy during the kind of heart of my childhood. So I got a soft spot for him too.
I mean, Steven Jackson. Let's not take a knock on him. I mean, he was an exceptional, damn good running back. It's just when you played so many years on a bad Rams team, man, it is what it is. But if he was on a really good Rams team, maybe he would have been Hall of Fame discussion easily. But it's kind of hard to evaluate those guys. But I think for Deacon Jones, he got in the Hall of Fame when the Rams weren't that great in those old days.
Yeah, he did. What he was doing. I mean, the guy basically invented the sack. I mean, I think
the head slap, but it's illegal now. But he did the head slap.
None of it counted, unfortunately. But if you do count those numbers, I think he's still kind of up near the career leaders in sacks if they count it.
Yeah, the stats counted in 1982 after that, but in the previous years they had some sacks where you would think, how the hell did he have this many sacks in the season? But they didn't put it out there.
No.
But yeah, Marshall Faulk was an all-around running back, so he was somebody that you guys made that trade for and got you over to the top.
Yeah, probably one of the most important pieces outside of, I think, Orlando Pace of that greatest show on turf team. I mean, there's a play that there's a highlight that I always love watching. It's the Rams versus the Browns, and I don't think the Rams block anybody on the play, and Marshall Faulk he's like a juke stick basically, and just he ends up scoring on it, but nobody's blocked. I mean, just the guy was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he was like you said, the human joystick, he could do some type of like elusive moves and stuff like that. It's the same thing with Christian McCaffrey, the way you look at it. Like, he could do it all too. So it's like, I don't want to sound a little bit of a weird comparison, but what Marshall Faulk did was a damn good career. But I don't know, CMC is not too far off. It's just he still has to have a consistent season to be up there. But I think when you look at the body of work of what Marshall Faulk did, he was an all-purpose back. Like, he did everything.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at you go to that 2001 Super Bowl between the Rams and Patriots, and I mean the Patriots put an emphasis on taking Marshall Faulk out of that game and being physical with him, and that's kind of that's part of what threw the Rams offense off. Marshall Faulk was kind of the the key to unlocking the offense, kind of like Chris McCaffrey, kind of the key to unlocking what Shanahan wants to do. And just a very two really good players, two great players, and I think two players that they do both kind of do it all, and I think that's kind of rare in running backs these days.
Yeah, it is. It's rare for some of them because you either have that skill set or you're just a regular average running back. So it's like nothing wrong with being like a runner, but if you don't have that kind of skill as a receiving back, that kind of makes you not too viable. There's different parts of what there's different types of running backs you have. You have the natural running back who doesn't really catch the ball as effectively good. Then you got the ones who can just catch like a wide receiver and do everything.
Exactly. I mean, like, and there's no knocking against these players. But I think you kind of put Derrick Henry in that, like, strictly kind of just a runner kind of guy, and then like you'd probably put like an Austin Eckler as kind of like strictly kind of a receiving type back. But the guys like Falk, guys like McCaffrey, like guys like even Gurley in kind of his prime, they were doing it all.
Yeah, they were for sure. Like, it's not a knock on them, but so going into this offseason, what did you feel that the Rams have yet to address that you think that they should have addressed into the offseason or the draft?
So they did sign Darius Williams and Trey White at corner, but I wish they would have drafted a rookie kind of within those first 3 rounds as well. You kind of look at who they had in the secondary last year. You're relying on guys like Darian Kendrick, Kobe Durant had a sophomore slump. So I was really hoping they would kind of bring in a nice talented corner to kind of give them a future at that position. And I mean, you look at Trey White. In his prime, he was really good in Buffalo, but he's coming off of an ACL and an Achilles injury. So who knows kind of what he's gonna be able to do. And then Darius Williams, he was in Los Angeles, went to Jacksonville, had a few good years, had a really good year last year, and now he's back. But he's also, I think, getting close to that age 30 kind of threshold
where they slowed down and don't produce exactly the same as they used to. Like, it's like
exactly
you go at the wrong part of the age, but
but like I understand them wanting to bring in add some experience to that group just because they were so young in the secondary last year. But I still would like them to draft somebody if possible. But I mean, for the most part, though, I mean, you look at what they did. They really needed edge rusher. They got Jared Burns. That was great. Lose Aaron Donald. You bring in, obviously you're not going to replace Aaron Donald, but you bring in Braden Fisk, who was awesome at Florida State. So it's hard to address everything, I guess, but I do wish they would have taken the corner if possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy to address everything, but at least you thought maybe they could have did a little bit better on those areas. But so just because Aaron Donald retires doesn't mean you guys are going to miss as much of a beat. I think you guys have to take it as a team. Like, when you look at Kobe Turner, he kind of broke out as a rookie last year, so maybe you're banking on Fisk to at least have some good production out of it, which he did pretty well at Florida State, and he had a really good Senior Bowl in the combine stuff. So he was killing it. So
yeah, it kind of like what they're trying to do. It kind of goes back to kind of that scene in Moneyball where Billy Beane saying we're not going to replace Giambi, but we kind of try to recreate him. And so you're not going to replace Aaron Donald, but you kind of maybe try to recreate that pressure with multiple guys instead of just all coming from one guy.
It's got to take it as a team. So even with Donald's presence, it's missing because he would demand double teams and all the other stuff. And I mean, it's one of a kind to replace somebody like Donald. So Kobe Turner's gonna be on the verge of being on one of your best guys, and then I think Fisk will just come in as the season goes on. But you look at the rest of your D line. Jared Verse is somebody that I think he was going to be drafted before you guys were going to draft him, but everybody kept drafting quarterbacks and other positions, and it was just surprising that he just happened to slip right into your guys' lap.
Yeah, and I think like in an ideal scenario, I think the Rams would have really liked to trade up and get Brock Bowers, but I don't think they're too disappointed that Jared Verse fell to them. I think it was just kind of unprecedented. I think the first, like I said, 14 picks or something were all offensive players. You had teams like the Falcons reaching on guys like on quarterbacks like
Penix,
Michael
yeah.
Penix. It was crazy. The quarterbacks that are coming off the board, and because of that, guys like Jared Verse that you would have expected to maybe go in the top 15 ended up dropping to 19, and the Rams are arguably get the best edge rusher, which is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, and then Braden Fitz drops all the way down to the second round. I thought he kind of made a strong case to at least be a first-round talent, but I guess not.
Yeah, and coming out of the combine, just like you were saying, he absolutely crushed the Senior Bowl and the combine. Had a fantastic combine. Crushed that athletic testing, and he was kind of getting a little bit of first-round buzz. But yeah, he falls in the second round, and the Rams traded up, which kind of generated a little bit of controversy. Not everybody was happy with how much they gave up, but when you find a player that you like, it's one of those things where you make that move.
Yeah, you do. Especially if you thought this player was going to be there, but if you don't make a move, then it's going to backfire you. Like, I think for a second, I don't even think the cornerback that we drafted was even an option to begin with. I think they were waiting for that tackle from Washington to slide a little bit because they liked this kid. They liked that kid so much that they were probably just going to wait. And I guess it just backfired them. So the Ravens got that kid, and then I think Ronaldo Green became another option because we didn't need to look at cornerback, and I think it's probably one of our weakest spots outside of Travarius Ward and Lenore. It's just that other guy is just unproven, which we've seen with Abry Thomas, and I think this is his final opportunity to prove now because we just brought in some veteran guys. We brought in Isaac Gadicum from the Saints. Rock Ilson came from the. I believe he came from the Colts, not in the Colts. Came from another team, but I forget what team it was. But he came from the Raiders, and then he was on. Ravens came on the Ravens. Yeah. Okay. He was on the Baltimore Ravens. He was on one of their depth pieces. I think he was coming off an injury, so we're banking on being a good backup.
I was actually so mad at your guys' draft because like you said, like you guys got the quarterback for Florida State Renardo Green or whatever his name is. It's hard to pronounce. And then you guys got Malik Mustafa too, the safety of the Wake Forest. And those are two of my favorite guys watching during the East West Shrine Bowl and during the Senior Bowl. Those were two of my favorite guys for the draft process. So for them to add Mustafa next to Hufanga, that's going to be a fun safety pairing. And then I think Green is going to end up with a pretty big role, I think, in your as a secondary this year.
I think midway in the season he might just make a strong push for the starting job. So I can see it as a possibility because Isaac Gadicum technically signed a 1-year deal. I don't think he's guaranteed a roster spot with the contract we give him, but I think he has to prove it. So, Ronaldo Green, we got this kid in the second round. We haven't invested a cornerback this high since Shante Spencer. So if we got him in the second round, then something's good about him. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it helps those guys too. Just obviously, you look at defense, that defensive line and the pressure, and the secondary kind of work hand in hand together. So I think having guys like Bosa, like Floyd, that can really generate pressure and help get the ball out of a little quicker. So you're not having to guard the receivers as long. Kind of helps those young guys on the back end for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess for some of you Rams fans, you do have a little love and hate relationship with Kendricks, that cornerback.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, more hate than love when it comes to Darian Kendrick. But it's one of those things where he did make some good plays last year, but there was a little bit, I think, too much of a heavy dose of Darian Kendrick in the defense. And I think going back to my earlier point, bringing in like a Trey White and Darius Williams this year, adding that veteran leadership, that veteran experience to that secondary will benefit them, because then a guy like Darian Kendrick, who did have some positive moments last year, you're not getting such a heavy dose of him, and he can kind of be more in a reduce a more focused role, I think, which will benefit him.
Yeah, you're just hoping he can get better. We had that with Abry Thomas. It's like an up and down with this guy, and then I think this is going to be a pretty interesting season. we'll definitely catch up maybe when we play against you guys, like maybe twice in the season and maybe possibly playoffs. We'll see. But yeah, for everybody else, man, hey, this is the Rams writer, Blaine Grisak, if I said it correctly, because it just sounds like Greece, like you said.
Yeah. No, I appreciate me. Honestly, this was a lot of fun, and yeah, let's do the regular season. It should be hopefully a tight battle there in the NFC West between these two teams.
Yeah, for sure, man. For everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode, man. Peace.